Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be all about the new Patrick Ta Major Holiday Face Palette. And I did actually get this on Sephora's Early Access. It did land today at my house. So I wanted to show you guys a couple of things about this palette and basically just review it for you, let you guys know what I think of it, if it's worth purchasing. This is a bit of a splurgier, luxurious item. So let's get right on into it. It is available at Sephora US, Sephora Canada, as well as Patrick Ta's website. The price of this palette is 65 American dollars or 88 Canadian dollars. And this one is structured a little bit differently than previous years. So he's already done this for 2 previous years before this. The first year was actually my favorite palette out of the 2. It was the Major Headlines Blush Palette, I believe it was called, Volume 1. And it was actually a set of a cream blush and a powder blush to kind of coordinate for a full cheek look. All of those 3 now are available for purchase individually. So if you did miss out on the palette, all 3 of those little duos in that first holiday palette are available now. So when I saw this palette for this year, I'm going to show you guys the inside of this because it is really beautiful. It gave me kind of the vibes of the very first duo in holiday number 1, which is She's a Doll. That is part of his permanent collection now, but these kind of shades are incredibly bright. So we do have like a cotton candy kind of blush on the left and more of like a deeper pinky purpley color, but very vibrant as well. So both of these are very much Barbie girl type style. If you guys are not really into that, like these are quite bright blushes. So just so you guys know, the new thing with this one though is the 4 eyeshadows that he's included. We're going to talk about those as well. When I actually got this palette first in the mail, I had quite a bit of shimmer that was on the mirror. So I feel like be careful if you do decide to order this and you open it up. I thought that my eyeshadows had actually shattered because there was quite a few pigment particles all over the mirror and everything. I was like, crap, this is not going to be a good look. But I have prepped my eyes with a matte shade. I'm going to talk about that in a second when we try everything on, but I want to kind of do the overview first. The first year's holiday palette was my favorite. The second year, which was last year, it had a highlight duo instead of the 3 blushes, if I remember correctly. Not a fan of the highlight. It was quite sheer, so it was definitely more of like a, I think a face gloss, more natural kind of look. That one was kind of like, not my favorite. And then the other 2 blushes were a little weaker in pigment as well. I found them to be not as strong as holiday number 1. And so I was a bit disappointed in the second launch. I did actually notice on Sephora Canada that the second holiday palette is available for a steep discount. We're talking 50% off. And it's probably because it didn't move a ton of units. That's basically my guess. Because, you know, I don't know. The first one really blew me away. It was really, really nice. And this one was just kind of What I did notice, though, was that last year's holiday palette was 75 Canadian dollars, and he did up it to 88 for this year. So it's a little bit of an increase in price as well. So when we talk about applying these, this is where it kind of gets to why I prepped my eyes the way I did. So I actually used an eye tint from Armani Beauty today. This is the shade 22M, which is called Warm Tan Matte, I believe. It's part of his eye tint collection. I do really like these pigments, but I find that they dry incredibly quickly. They are meant to be long wearing, so that's probably why they dry like that. So you do have to make sure that when you're actually applying them, that you apply them fast. And when you're blending them a little quicker. When it comes to the long-lasting piece, though, these are fire. They don't crease, they don't do anything. They're basically sitting there all night long if you want. So that's kind of why I put this on as a base. Now remember, they don't have to be perfect. We're going to be layering the glitter that we're trying today from the palette, which are so, so beautiful. But like I said, we do have quite a bit of fallout everywhere from these. Even within the pan, there's just a little bit of glitter particles everywhere. And I do like that he's got this window to protect the creams, but I am seeing a ton of glitter particles, especially in the powder blushes, because they tend to fly everywhere. So I'm gonna make sure that I apply these pigments with my fingertip to really minimize the glitter fallout that's going to happen from these. So let's get into the swatches. I know you guys want to know. So first off, let's talk about the eyeshadows. The names of these from left to right are Feeling Selfish. This one is kind of on the duochrome side of things as well, which is really cool. We have It's My Face, Mind Your Business, and In the Spotlight. Out of all of the eyeshadow shades, I do find the one over here, this one at the very bottom, this one is quite thin and it doesn't have a ton of pigment backing, I would say. So this one is very much going to be a topper. If you just do this without a matte base or a shadow base of any of your choosing, this is just going to be pure shimmer. It's not going to look like much. The other three tend to have more backing on them, meaning that you can probably get away with just that one shade all over because it can give you that nice sort of opacity underneath the shimmer. So the gold kind of duochrome one at the very top here, that one is really beautiful. Could definitely just be an eye look by itself. Same with this one down here, but it's quite a sparkly white. This one's going to be more of a topper for sure. And then this one is even a little bit thicker than that topper shade, but it still has quite a bit of thinness to it. Does it have that gel-like kind of lightweightness? Yes, but some of them have more of an pigment backing than the others. So I think that's useful information, and the reason why I prep my eyes like this, because I do want to try a number of them, and I think some of them are going to be very weak without having eyeshadow already prepped on your lid. I'm going to first do maybe this golden duochrome one. Do you see it's kind of like berry with like a really rich copper? I really like that, and I think that's going to layer beautifully over this eye. Now let's just see if my theory with the fallout is correct. Perhaps doing this kind of technique with the finger pad is going to minimize it, but I am really trying to stay close to the lid. See, this is beautiful. That's a look right there. You could even just leave it, but do you see what I mean? How it's duochrome? It's got golden, a little bit of pink as well. So this is a really beautiful shade. It's actually not as much going airborne as I thought. So I do think that perhaps it was just the in transit, maybe a little bit of a mess from the post, but I was very surprised at how minimal this fallout was. This application technique is definitely going to be your best friend, but that is so easy. Like all I had to do was place it on the lid and then gently, you know, apply. This is perfect. This would be a beautiful holiday eye with some liner or mascara by itself or both, whatever you want to do. Now I want to show you guys the topper over top of this. This is kind of like a champagne. Do you see that? It's really beautiful. We're going to place that over top, and I hope it doesn't shadow it too much, but I just wanted to show you that it's going to add a little bit of a top coat to this, but it's not going, because it's like doesn't have as much pigment backing as the other one, it's just going to lightly coat. So you see what I mean? You can definitely see that duochrome still peeking through, but now there's a little bit of that champagne-y white gold kind of shimmer. So these are absolutely stunning. Like 2 out of 2, really, really beautiful. It's interesting because like I said at the beginning, we have 2 blushes that are quite bold and bright in this one, and all of these 4 shadows are shimmer, so there's like kind of like that nice sparkle in this palette as well. But it's interesting how these eyeshadows are quite safe, I would say, you know? So perhaps my guess is that he wanted to keep these shimmers, although really sparkly and gorgeous. I think he wanted to maybe highlight the cheek as sort of the dominant feature in your look. So if you're just using this palette all by itself, the cheek is going to kind of take the show. Even though you have beautiful sparkle on your eyes, these are eyes that are not super bright or neon or anything, so it's going to collaborate with the cheek really nicely, but it's not going to steal focus. All right guys, we are back. So the eyes are done, as is the base. The only thing that I've done with my base is put on primer, foundation, powder. And for the eyes, I've done lashes and liner. I really like Patrick Ta's blush formula, but I will let you guys know it is incredibly pigmented. So be very, very careful. And there's a couple different ways to do this. So I think a lot of people will do the cream first and then put the powder over top. Patrick Ta is actually very known for doing the opposite. He'll do the powder first and then the cream. So I don't know if we should try Patrick Ta's style or if we should do it our style. I think we're gonna do the powder first and then the cream, just like Patrick Ta is known for. On one side, one blush, and on the other side, the other blush, so you can see. So it's going to look pretty crazy because I'm gonna have two different shades, but just so you guys can tell the difference, I will do one on each cheek. And I am doing the lightest dab with my REPHR 05 brush. So I want this to look as natural as I can for a color like this. But do you see what I mean? Like, you don't need much. And we're gonna make the blush the moment. So this definitely has a bit of a purple pull to it. But you can see it's very buildable. My little baby hairs are getting in the way. So you could even just leave it here and it's more of like that purpley pink color, right? It's not too crazy. You can add more and more and it'll of course get more and more opaque. On the other side, let's do the BK Beauty 107. This is actually one of her travel brushes. I'm gonna go in with the other blush just so that you can see the powder as well before I apply the cream. This one is Giving Main Character. This is definitely the more vibrant one, so I'm gonna be extra careful. This one to me is more clown-like. It's not my favorite shade, but perhaps putting the cream on will be better. But like this one is also maybe applied a little heavier. I'm gonna go back in with that cotton candy one on the other side. Let's just make them a little bolder for you, just so you guys can really see the color. I think in real life though, because you know, sometimes with the lighting and stuff, it's nice to over apply slightly so you guys can see what I mean. But in like natural kind of everyday, this is already way too much. So out of the two, you guys will have to let me know what side you like better, but I think I already like this side better. Because you can see both are very, very bold. I have a little bit of my redness peeking through here, so it looks like the blush is a little bit sloppy, but this is kind of what I mean. It's bright. It might just be like, you know, my complexion. Like if you have a richer complexion, perhaps this looks like balm on you, but perhaps having a little bit of a lighter complexion for this is a little interesting. All right, friends, we've got our beauty blender. It's nice and damp. I'm gonna pull up the cotton candy one first. I have to really pick this cream up. Patrick Ta, help. What did you do? Why is it so nice when you do it? I actually never apply it backwards like this. He's known for this technique. I am not. Oh, okay. I see it. It's coming together slightly. Let's go on the other side. Over top of that. Guys, I do not like these. I don't like this at all. Look at this color. Oh, so I don't really like, this one is, it's either really over applied or I'm gonna put my powder down over top and try to mute it a little bit. I don't like that. I don't think that looks good on my skin tone. That's just me. And let's go on the other side. The thing with the application is that you can see there's a bit of my redness peeking through on either side. That's just because I have rosacea underneath, so just try not to focus on that too much. But both of them are very, very bold. I mean, if I could go for this one, this is the one I'd prefer, which is that first duo, but this I don't like at all. And it might just be that I need to work with it a little bit better, but it's so, so bright on my skin tone. And it just looks weird. I don't know, guys. So I'm adding a little bit of warmth to my face, and I actually think it's helping. So I put a little bit of highlight as well, nothing too crazy. And then with some of that warmth, I think it's pulling it together much, much better. So it could just be that I was having a little bit of a moment. Do you guys know whenever I'm trying to think of like the phenomenon that I'm thinking of, but when you're like speaking and then you say a word and you think it just sounds funny and you're like, it's like you've never noticed that it sounds like that before. Like it sounds so weird and so odd to you in that moment when really you've used that word how many times in your life. So this is kind of similar to me. I wonder, like, now that I'm looking at myself, I put the look together with some highlight, a little bit of a light bronzer. It looks better to me somehow. And I think it is because I did put on some powder over top to soften it. That I did do. They are kind of cohesive now. You can tell this one is still a little bit darker, but it's not as bad as I thought at all. So maybe I was having one of those moments where like, I don't think it looks very good. And now I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to add some powder over top of this, especially that second shade, because it was quite bold. Maybe if I just leave it more of that blurred look and put some powder over top, for me, I can pull it off. Or also keeping it more light-handed. Perhaps it was also just over-applied, right? So what I did was I applied the Easy Bake and Snatch by Huda Beauty, and I literally just went over top of it. Like I took my powder brush and I just did this like a couple of times. So you can see there's still that nice luminosity, but it's kind of blurred, so it looks like it goes, you know? It's still more of a brighter pink than what I'm used to wearing, but I do really like it now. I don't know. Right now I just have a gloss. This is the iced coffee from Summer Fridays. I'm going to do a haul really soon because I got the holiday collection from Sephora. I'm going to put on a lipstick and see if the lipstick will make it even more cohesive. Okay, I actually really like this. I feel like I take that back. I think I'm just in my head a little bit. I don't know, but I do think there's a little bit of some work. If you do over apply it, you can do my methods. I think this is actually nice. I do still really like this side more though, I'll be honest. So if I could pick between them, I do like that first blush duo because I just didn't find it as scary on me and my skin tone. I think we saved it, and I think I was having a bit of a moment, but I think this is working out just fine. So, okay. Anyways, final thoughts. The eyeshadows are great. Apply them with a finger pad, very important. I do think with a brush application, you're going to get some flyaways. That is for sure. The shadows are definitely things that we've seen before, but I think they have a nice cohesion with this palette because it does add that beautiful sparkle, but it doesn't take away from the cheek. It's very cohesive. When it comes to application, like all of his blushes, we do have very high pigmentation, extremely high. I did his blush technique today, but normally I put the cream on first and then the powder. You can do both. So I do like how this has turned out, especially that one side that I really, really like. And I think that one shade is just a little bit easier for me to work with. The second duo, a little brighter. I have to be much more cognizant of making sure I don't over apply that one. But those are all my thoughts on this video. I'm gonna quickly show you guys the swatches from the palette that I really, really liked from 2 years ago. I did actually have them from a previous video. I pulled them and I'll show you right now what those look like. I do think that with this palette this year, I think the brightness of these blushes is definitely kind of keeping that theme of that first duo, She's a Doll, which is now, like I said, a permanent shade. So you can get She's a Doll in Sephora as a single duo, but this palette is kind of extending that bright pinkness, that Barbie look, if you will. Definitely evaluate how you're going to use it and see if it's worth it to you, and take my tips to heart. The shades I have in my collection though are not nearly as bright. So when I do work with his other shades that I have, I'm not running into this problem. I do know that I have higher pigmentation blushes I'm working with, but they're not nearly as bright on my skin. So I don't feel like I have to be really careful. All right, guys, hopefully this was helpful for you and you had a couple laughs with me. Thank you so much for watching. Do subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you back here. And until my next one, guys, take care and stay safe. Bye, guys.